Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. Do you want to become a better shooter, reduce flinch, protect your ears, and just overall enjoy shooting your gun that much more? Then there's no better way to do that than by adding a suppressor to the end of your barrel. Be sure to check out Huxwrx Safety Co, as they are a leader in the suppressor world with their OSS Flow-Through Technology, virtually eliminating blowback and toxic gas that can affect weapon system performance and shooter health. To find out more about Huxwrx, go to huxwrx.com. That's huxwrx.com, and go get yourself a suppressor for your upcoming hunts. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by OnX Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is OnX Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, OnX Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust OnX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about OnX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt. And check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and tonight I have a phenomenal episode, one that I have been looking forward to since the day I got to shake this man's hand at the Dallas Safari Club convention. And when I got to meet him, I was like, man, I recognize this name from somewhere, but I don't know, I can't put my thumb on it. It turns out that this fellow who we're about to introduce on this show is a longtime legend within the predator hunting world and within the hunting world himself. He is created a hunting series shows called Coming to the Call. He's a co-owner and CEO of Convergent Hunting Solutions, which makes predator calls. I've been on my journey of learning how to predator hunt more and more. I always saw these vertical bullet-looking predator calls. I was like, man, where do you find those? Where do you find those? Little did I know I was shaking the hand of the co-owner and CEO of that company. He is a Realtree Pro staffer and someone who has had his own very specific model of Remington firearm made specifically for him. Yes. And without further ado, my fellow Texan, Byron South, is here to talk all about predator hunting and predator trapping. Byron, thank you so much, sir, for joining us on this podcast.
You bet. Thanks, Johnny. Let me back up a little bit. I no longer own Convergent. Me and a partner of mine started that, and I sold it. I just quit working for them about a year ago. Oh. We sold it a couple of years ago, and but I'm still associated with it, and that's fine. A lot of people think I'm still there and own it, but I'm kind of retired from the corporate world, and I'm doing what I love to do now, and just killing coyotes for I've got a bunch of different properties I trap for and do animal damage control for, and I'm just loving it. I mean, it's what I like to do without all the corporate stuff. So
I love it.
It's a dream come true.
Oh man, you're living out your passion, and that is something that I believe is missing in this world quite a bit. You know, so often people are just clocking in, clocking out, 9 to 5. Go get a drink, watch TV, start it all over again. The grind. This is why I can't stand the word grind. I don't believe life is a grind. I believe it is a beautiful thing, and we get to make the most of it each and every moment. So, Mr. South, let's go back to the beginning of your adventure as an outdoorsman, because there's a difference between a hunter and a trapper. And then when you combine them, it's like they are ultimate woodsmen, ultimate outdoorsmen. What is the origin story of you?
Well, my background, I grew up on a dairy farm in East Texas. My dad didn't hunt much, but my uncle hunted a lot. I really looked up to my uncle, and we were hauling hay one day. I was just a little kid, wasn't big enough to load the hay, so they had me driving the pickup. And there was a predator call on the dash, and I was driving through the middle of the hay while my uncle and my granddad were loading hay, and they'd get to the end, they'd hit me turning around, I'd drive back through the middle of the hay, and they'd pick it. And so I picked up that predator call and started blowing it. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And so my uncle told me at the end of the day, hey, if you want that, you can have it. I've tried to call coyotes, but I've never had any luck at it. So I took that call and talked a cousin of mine into going with me one night. We weren't supposed to be out of the house, but we slipped out of the house, went down the creek. I had no idea what I was doing. I just blew that call, and I knew back then. I thought everybody that I'd ever heard called coyotes or did it at night. So we actually slipped a flashlight away from my granddad, went down the creek. I blew the call 3 or 4 times, and George had turned the light on and shine it. I turned the light off, blew the call a couple more times. He turned the light on. Well, about the third time we did that, turned the light on. There was a coyote standing right in front of us. I shot him, and you know. It was like I'd killed a grizzly bear. Picture 8 or 10 year old kid. So I knew we was going to be in trouble for being away from the house. But man, I'd killed the old folks back then called them wolves. We didn't even call them coyotes. And so me and George drug the wolves. All we could do, little guys, so we drug that coyote up to the house. And I woke my granddad up, and I just knew I was going to get a whipping for being out of the house. And we'd climbed up on top of the refrigerator and got his flashlight. So we weren't supposed to be out of the house, but woke him up. He thought we were trying to pull a prank on him, and so finally got him to come look. And so, man, he didn't whip us. He thought that was a big deal that we'd killed a wolf, and so he told all those men down at the corner store. And so every time I'd go to the store, this is out in the country back in the 70s. So if you think about that. And so all them old men would, I thought that was a big deal, and they'd just fluff me, and pat me on the back. Hey, wolf killer, when you gonna come kill my wolves? And boy, I'd swell up. I thought I was a wolf killing machine. And I'd love to tell you that I started killing coyotes right off the bat. Then I probably didn't kill another coyote for a year or more, and it wasn't from a lack of trying. I had no idea what I was doing. I just happened to get just dumb luck on that first thing, the first coyote call. And I often wonder, if I'd have tried it 5 or 6 times and had no success, I'd have probably thrown the thing away, and I might have went on and made something else of my life besides the coyote hunter. But that lit a fire in me. Once I saw I was able to make that animal come and react to that call, I knew it could happen. So I just started trying to learn more and more about it. And it's something. I'm 58 years old now. It's something that's never got tired or old to me. You mentioned, the grind. I just finished 3 properties trapping for 10 days straight. And if you watch the weather, I mean, we've had some horrible weather and rain. So the last 2 days I was pulling traps in the mud. So it's not all glamour and stuff. I mean, it's a commitment trapping. We're calling coach. You can go, oh, it's windy this tonight, it's raining, I'm not going to go. Once you set traps, you're committed. You have to check that trap every day. And rain, sleet, or shine, mud, snow, whatever. So, but the two, have to do with coyotes. And I just love, coyotes and how they think, and the whole game with coyotes, whether calling or trapping them.
Yeah.
I tell guys all the time, I'll go, man, you're not catching me coyotes. Sometimes they'll say, oh, all I've got to do is make them step on a 3-inch circle. There's 3,500 acres.
Right.
But I did pretty good. I caught, I think, 35 coyotes last week, or over that 10-day period, and a few cats.
Wow.
So
that is incredible. Yeah. Hey, you guys need to worry about hitting your target, shooting a gun. I need to get them to step on a 3-inch pan just to that's a big deal. Oh man,
it's a game. It's a lot of challenge into it. A lot of, there's a challenge to it. A lot of times you'll get there and he stepped right here and didn't step right there, and you think, oh, what can I do?
Yeah.
So, sorry, man, not come back.
Oh man, I got so many questions for you. I like this episode. I've really been looking forward to. Number one, because coyote hunting, coyote calling, all that was the foundation for me getting to hunting. I had an AR and I got tired of shooting paper. I wanted to hunt. and I could hunt coyotes year round. It was like, all right, Saturday free. Okay, let's go do this. Um, I can tell you that I haven't called that many coyotes in my life. And with that being said, I also haven't scouted for coyotes. And I think that's this transition that I'm learning as the more conversations I have with people like you and Big Al Morris of Fox Pro and Jeff Thomason and all these guys is they're saying, you actually got to do your homework for coyotes. A lot of people are like, well, it's not a game animal. It's more of a nuisance animal, different stuff. Like however you classify a coyote,
Oh yeah.
you still have to do your homework on them. You still have to sharpen your skills as a hunter, as a outdoorsman, and I think that is like a huge missing link when it comes to this idea of tricking nature's number one predator and just how intelligent they are. What's up, Soul Seekers Nation? Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. As a reward, I have some discount codes for you to use if you are in the market for a brand new hunting pack. Go check out initialascent.com and Initial Ascent packs. They are made in America. Their one-piece carbon frame is an absolute game changer. We run their packs. We love them. And you can save 5% at checkout by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. Also, for those of you who are archery hunters and you are tired of shooting at dots on a target, check out deadnutsoutdoors.com for their lifelike 2D archery targets. You can save 20% on all of their products by using the code SOULSEEKERS at checkout. Once again, the code is SOULSEEKERS, all one word. Go check out initialascent.com and Dead Nuts Outdoors. Enjoy the podcast.
Sometimes coyotes can seem so dumb at times, but most of the time, they're as sharp as any big mature whitetail buck, especially if they've been hunted a little bit. It's a huge challenge. So yeah, I mean, as far as like, a lot of people call the off season here in Texas, we don't have any off season, thank goodness for coyotes, and thank goodness they don't have these big horns where everybody wants to go after them. So for a lot of times, it's just been, it's so easy to get a place to hunt. So you get, a lot of opportunities to really hone your skills. And I can take you, any good coyote hunter that I know that's practiced the basics of being a good woodsman and that skill set, it'll make you so much better deer, elk, turkey hunter, even for waterfowl. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I tell people, a lot of people make it more complicated than it really is. And I used to give seminars all over the country, and I tell guys at my seminars, look, everybody's trying to get that one secret that's going to propel them, into the make them a much better coyote hunter. And they come to my seminars looking for that grain, that's going to just really propel them into make them a better predator hunter. And I used to tell guys all the time, look, one thing that you're going to learn at my seminars, the biggest thing you're going to learn at the end of the deal is you're going to say, if that guy can do it, I can too. Because it's not really difficult. It's basically the basics. And if you'll do the basics, but do them well and don't take shortcuts, you'll be a good predator hunter. You'll be a good whitetail deer hunter, whatever your game of choice is. But a lot of guys will oversimplify or over complicate it. And if you'll keep it simple, a lot of guys are using all kinds of cover scents and all kinds of stuff. If the wind is blowing this way, he can't smell you. If the wind is blowing this way, I don't care what you've got on you, he will smell you.
Right.
So that's one rule that you cannot break. If he hears, sees, or smells you, or hears you, game is up. So you've got to have good woodmanship skills as far as getting to your set and your location. You got to have a little bit of knowledge about where to set up. And then once you set up, remember, the main thing is once you start to blow that call, you've given your position up. So all of those eyes are right here. So if you'll, a guy, and his name escapes me now, but he used to be a big turkey hunter, and he was giving a seminar one time at a Bass Pro or Cabela's, and I was there, and we were talking, and he said something to me. Man, I wish I could remember the guy's name, but anyway, he said if hunters would, when they pull up to a location to get out to go call a coyote, if they would get it in their mindset that coyote has a gun. And if he hears, smells, or detects you in any way, he can shoot and kill you. Not too many people will slam the door when they get out of the vehicle.
Right.
They're not going to skylight themselves, and they're not going to get the wind wrong. So if you think about it in those terms, when you go, because it's a life or death situation for that guy, for that coyote. So if you get out with that same seriousness when you pull up to a location that you've chosen to call, if you'll treat it like that, you'll kill so many more coyotes. And so that's always stuck in my head. And I use that at my seminars. And if I can remember his name later, I'll mention his name because he needs credit for that. But that's always stuck with me. And, that's just a good example. I was giving seminars on the subject as an expert and was still learning. And I'll tell you today, that's what's so fascinating about a coyote. Uh, you know, he's going to teach you from now on. I mean, there's always a different, better way.
The concept of being a student of the game, right? To master your craft and to do your best to always learn and always evolve, transform, to hone your craft to the best you can. I'm giving a black bear hunting 101 seminar on Friday and Sunday at the Western Hunt Expo. So this podcast is actually going to release this coming Monday, the day after my second seminar. And that's one of the things is this specifically goes with the mentorship as conservation concept. You don't have to know it all to be a mentor. You just have to know one thing is how powerful and impactful hunting is to you as an individual, so much so that you want to give it away to other people. And so I don't claim to be like some professional, like know-it-all. I'm just a guy who's willing to share the information that I have. And it's like, hey, this has worked for me. Go try it, go have at it.
I think that's why my videotapes, my series of Coming to the Call DVDs and VHS tapes, I'm dating myself, but I started making videos back when there were no DVDs, and one of the biggest comments I got, because I didn't ever make the videos, people that know me will tell you this, I have no ego. So I'm not trying to be Mr. Humble or anything like that, but I'm past the ego stuff. I wasn't doing it for fame or glory or anything like that. The reason I made the videos was to try to help people through the learning curve that I had to go through and kind of speed them through that process and show them what I knew. Because there's a lot of, some of these guys will get kind of, I'm not going to give up my secrets. Well, there's no secrets. If you just do the basics and do them well, and use good common sense and woodsmanship skills, you will be a good hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, let me give her some credit. When I first started making videos, I assumed a lot of people knew what I knew. Because I just knew it, and I just thought it was common knowledge calling coyotes. And I say, here, you put the camera right here, point it right there, and I'm gonna call a coyote. And he's gonna come right here, and he's gonna go downwind, and I'm gonna shoot him right here. And she goes, well, I need to put the camera here. I said, no, that's stupid. Put it right here and point it right there. I'm gonna kill that coyote right there. Well, how do you know that? I just know that. I'd tell her. And she goes, well, that's what you need to tell the camera, because nobody else know. That's the reason you're making videos, is to show people. And I thought, she's so smart. I thought, oh, you're exactly right. So then I started sitting down and saying, okay, the reason I sit here is because, it's pretty high likelihood there's a coyote over there. The wind is going here. He's going to try to get downwind, and there's a good open spot. And I've set up an ambush site right here, and I'll probably kill him right there. So I started talking to the camera and telling people those things. And the coyote was always a star in my video. I just kind of showed how I used his defenses against him to be able to kill him or to call him in. And a coyote is just hardwired, any predator is just hardwired to come to a distress sound. But they're also, they have these big articulating ears, they have great eyes, and their noses cannot be beat. Anything with a long nose, God put a lot of scent receptacles in the nose. That's the reason he gave them such a long nose. And like, I think 60% of their brain is wired to their nose. So you're not going to beat his nose. It's really hard to beat those ears because they can pinpoint that sound from a long distance. Where it's coming from. And then they're going to train their eyes on that. And so when you set your deal up, if you can get there quietly, without him knowing you're there, seeing you, hearing you, smelling you, then half the game is already beat right there, or won actually.
I like that. How much pre-scouting do you do before coyote hunting or going? Trapping's a different scenario because you're there. Sure. Like either you got a call or you've gotten reports of stuff like that, I would imagine. And correct me if I'm wrong. So feel free to please interject on that. But
No, you're fine.
You're saying like half the battle's won if they can't see you, smell you, or hear you. That's if a coyote's in the area, correct?
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
that's your main ingredient is have a coyote that can hear you. If you're just blowing and there's no coyotes, it doesn't matter where you're sitting. So, you kind of develop an eye for it and where they should be. And I was very fortunate. A lot of guys that are in this game, hunt their areas they grew up in. And I was real fortunate early in my career. I got to travel a lot. I mean, I've called coyotes from Alaska, Canada, all the way to Mexico, called most of the predators in Africa and most of the 50 states. And so I kind of had to develop a knack for trying to figure out where should a coyote be. And that reverts back to, a lot of common sense. Where does he feel safe or whatever? And so 90% of my calling when I was traveling like that is cold calling because I didn't have the luxury of pre-scouting an area.
Okay.
But intel is something that's very important. And I always ask the guys running with, where do you hear them howl? Where do you see coyotes? I try to get as much intel as I can to kind of formulate where I think that coyote's at. And after you kind of develop a deal, and I know when I'm driving down the road with coyote hunters or a new guy that I hadn't hunted with, if he's just talking and not paying attention, I know that guy's probably not a good coyote hunter. But if we got hunting on our mind, we're driving down the road, a good coyote hunter will say, "Oh, that'd be a good spot. I'd love to call that spot right there." And you'll develop an eye for it. And that just takes a little bit of time. But until you get to that point, get as much intel as you can. And scouting, by all means, if you've got the time and the luxury of being able to scout a place. If I tell guys all the time, here in East Texas, coyotes normally don't howl during the day. Out in West Texas, some of the western states, you'll hear some coyotes howl during the day. But generally speaking, a coyote doesn't get up and go somewhere to howl. That's where he spent the day. And when they get up and do the little group thing, they're howling. They're a real territorial animal. And, I'm pretending to know what a coyote's thinking. But what I believe is when that coyote howls, he's trying to say, "Hey, I'm over here. Where are you at?" He's letting everybody know he's where he's supposed to be. And then he wants to get those other coyotes in those other areas or territories to howl back. So he's kind of checking up, letting everybody know, "I'm in my spot. Where are you?" So if you can know where that coyote's howling, right at dusk, that's probably where he was at during the day. Figure that out and then get you a plan of where you can get within calling distance of him. And that may be a mile, out west. It may be a quarter mile in the east. But formulate you a plan of where you can get there to where you've taken all his defenses away from him. Get a place to set up where you can see him when he responds, but he doesn't have the ability to see you or wind you. And then another thing I think that a lot of guys make mistakes about when they're calling is turning that call on and off. I found, and at least in my mind, I'm convinced that if you'll leave that call constantly playing, and you'll have that coyote coming in a more direct route, and he won't get his wheels turning, because if you keep messing with him, his little wheels are going to start turning. He's going to go downwind, or he's going to get suspicious, and they're just a really suspicious animal, and they're going to beat you most of the time. They start getting their flags up. So the quicker you can get him there, in a more direct route you can get him there, the higher your odds are. And I tell people too, I said this in one of my videos, you don't want that coyote to jump through too many hoops to get there. You want an easy path for him to get to you fast. So when you choose your setup, do that, because if he's got to come across a creek or somebody's yard, or something out in the open where he doesn't feel comfortable in the daytime, then that's a hoop. So in that situation, I'll try to get as close to where I feel like that coyote's at, because I want to get him there quick. The quicker I can get him there, the less chance you've got his little wheels turning. And so when a coyote's coming to a call, let me back up a little bit. Used to on the packages, and some of the new calls probably still say that, but if you'll read the instructions when you buy a hand call, it'll tell you to blow that call for a minute or two and stop for 5. Then blow it for a minute or two and then stop for 5. What happens if a coyote, say, is out there 3/4 of a mile, half a mile, or a mile, or whatever, and he hears that call, he may instantly start coming to that call, He may be trying to figure out. Finally, he's coming to the call, and then it stops. So what's this coyote do? He's not close enough where he can hear you or see you or smell you because you've got the wind right and you're hid. So his little wheels are turning. What happened? Did something else kill the rabbit? Did the rabbit move or whatever? So you got his wheels turning. So automatically, what he's going to do by his instincts is go downwind. Okay, well, if he doesn't get downwind of you, you start blow that call again, and you'll pick him up, and he'll start coming to you. Well, then it quits again before he got there. So now what's he going to do? He's going to do the same thing, and you got his little wheels turning. So if you'll keep that call constantly going, and you've got him something to hone in on because he's not close enough to hear you, he's not downwind of you, so he can't smell you. He's going to get as close as he can. And if he does go downwind, a lot of coyotes will. People say coyotes always go downwind. Well, two things you can never say about a coyote is always or never, because they will fool you. So when he's coming, if you've got him on there pretty good and you're hid like you should be, and you got the wind like you should be, he's going to come. Now he may go downwind at the last minute, but it may be at 10 yards from the call, not 200 yards downwind from the call. So that constant calling really helps. The other thing is if he gets to a point, and we call it checking up. A lot of times a coyote will come and get to a vantage spot before he commits to make that final dash to that call. He's going to get to where he thinks he can see it. If he doesn't see something like a decoy moving, a lot of times then he's checking up. And when we say checking up, when a coyote comes up there and he's looking at the call, and that's a great thing about electronic game call is he's focused on that and not you. But if he's focused on that and doesn't look at you, a lot of times you'll see their ears turn behind them. That a lot of times means that second coyote's back there. You may see him turn around and look. So don't shoot that coyote right there because you may end up getting a double or a triple. He may be checking up and waiting on that second coyote to come up. They'll kind of get together and then he'll come again. He's waiting on that other coyote to catch up. But anyway, when that coyote comes in and checks up, if he sees that decoy, well, he's got two forms of confirmation now. He can hear you and he can see that decoy. A lot of times with two forms of confirmation, he doesn't need that third form, which is his nose. A lot of times he'll come right. Once he sees that decoy, I've seen him so many times lock onto that decoy and you shoot him with a shotgun at 20 yards because they're just, run over the call in a decoy. But my main thing is I want to get that coyote there as quickly as possible. Now, let me back up to the hand call. If you're a hand call guy, you cannot blow a call constant.
Right.
You will pass out and you're not doing anybody any good. You will get lightheaded. So if you're calling with a buddy, just kind of alternate back and forth. One guy blow a call for a minute or two, another guy just pick it up and we just kind of go back and forth like that. If you're calling by yourself, get you a good call that doesn't take a lot of air. Convergent makes some great calls. Kerry Carver makes some great calls. That doesn't use a lot of air, and just pace yourself so you don't get lightheaded and fall over before you can kill a coyote. But keep it as constant as possible. So
I love that. Here's a question for you. Who got in the game first, you or Randy Anderson?
Who was in the game first?
Yeah, who started calling coyotes and making it more? And do you howl at every stand like what Randy does?
Yeah. Randy's a great guy, and that howling works really good. Randy actually got to jump on me. Actually, I was guiding some coyote hunters, and they told me about this videotape, and it's awesome. And I didn't even watch TV. Still don't watch TV much, but they brought me one of Randy's first videos when he first come out with that video, and I saw that and I thought, man, that's a great video. Nothing against Randy in his country. He does a fantastic job. But he was still shooting those coyotes out at distance. I'm thinking, man, I'm just killing those coyotes right here, with a shotgun. My deal was to get them, where I can see the whites of their eyes and shoot them with a shotgun. My deal was to get them as close as I can. In Randy's country, that's not really conducive to that. It's more open than where I was at in East Texas. So Randy got a little bit of jump on me, but it spurred me on. I thought, man, I can do better. I'm a competitive type guy like that. And so me and Randy probably was a year ahead of me making videos. And Randy got to travel some, but one of my deals was I hunted East Texas, West Texas, Oklahoma, a lot of different places, varied terrain. So I had to develop my skills a little different. And the howling, I'm not a big coyote vocals guy. And I kill a lot of coyotes with vocals in certain times of year. But I use rabbits probably 80-90% of the time, and I don't have any problem. Matter of fact, we were doing a TV show with a guy out in West Texas, and the guy that was over the ranch come told me, said, "Hey, I'm not having any luck with any prey distress sounds. I've been on this ranch for however long it was, and I've never caught a coyote with a rabbit. It's all vocals." So I was in partners with Stephen and me with Convergent at the time when we were actually sponsoring this TV show. So the guy leaves and Steven says, "Well, what are you going to do, Byron?" And I said, "I'm going to use the rabbit. I'm going to do the same thing I always did." We killed, we took this kid hunting. He'd never hunted before in his life. We actually shot the guns the day before we left that evening. The next morning we got up. He killed a double 3 times in a row. He killed 6 coyotes in 3 stands. This kid had never killed anything. And he's looking at us like, this is not hard. This is not difficult at all. And we never blew a howl. It was all straight rabbit. And
That's incredible.
That TV show, I'm sure you can still find it up, but find it on YouTube or something. But I'm a big rabbit guy. I mean, and I believe, not just any rabbit. The sounds have to have some emotional content and some terror and some fear. And when you're blowing a hand call, same thing. You can't just wah wah wah. You've got to have some urgency in that call. Really get on it and sound like something just tearing a rabbit up, and it makes that coyote think, "Uh-oh, I got to be there in a hurry. I'm missing out." It's like a car wreck and people screaming. Everybody's got to go look. Same thing with that blowing that call. And I can take a 5-year-old kid in 20 minutes and have him blowing a call, well, good enough to call coyotes. Because the idea is to sound horrible. That's what a rabbit sounds like when he's dying. Gerald Stewart told me one time, we were driving out to Arizona, me and Gerald, and Johnny Stewart,
Yep.
Johnny's son, Gerald, great friend of mine. And, Gerald's kind of got a good sense of humor. And he said, me and Dad recorded hundreds of rabbits, to get the perfect rabbit sound.
Right.
The problem is, when a rabbit's dying, if you record most of them, it's not a marketable sound. It sounds horrible, and so people just wouldn't buy it. But, and the next thing he said was, we get to practice in a pickup driving around blowing a hand call. A rabbit's got one shot at it, so he don't practice or nothing.
Make it
so
count.
don't just sound horrible on that call. And confidence is huge in calling coyotes. If you don't think you're doing something right, you're not going to sit there long. You're not going to be still. You're not going to have, and so you're not going to be paying attention. The call is the easiest part of it. If you'll just sound horrible, the main thing is getting the basics right, getting there, having a coyote that's receptive, getting to the right spot where you can take advantage of him when he responds to that call.
My biggest thing is sitting still. I have a very hard time holding position. And are you the type of guy where you're just scanning with your eyeballs, rather than moving your head, or
not necessarily?
Yeah.
I'm big on sitting still. We use shooting sticks, in the daytime when we sit down. First thing I do if I've got a couple guys with me is, are y'all ready? Make sure you're comfortable, because we may sit there 30 seconds and we may sit there 30 minutes. Rarely do I sit anywhere 30 minutes, usually 10, 15, and I'm moving. A coyote can run 40 miles an hour almost. So it doesn't take him long to get there if he's coming. And so usually 10, 15 minutes and I'm moving to another stand. But I tell guys, look, be ready. And so many times, especially filming these TV shows, I go, "Yeah, I'm ready." "Are you really ready?" "Yeah, I'm ready." I'll start calling, boom, a coyote pops up and the guy goes, "Man, I wasn't ready. I didn't think it was going to happen that fast."
Yeah.
So, but you want to be still, because when you start that call, whether it's an electronic call or a hand call, those eyes are looking right here. And if you're in big, wide open country with the eyesight they've got, I mean, they will pin you down, and you're not going to be very successful. So just be still. But honestly, when I sit down, I think it's going to happen in 2 minutes, so I can be still for 2 minutes.
There you
and
go.
I may fidget a little bit, after 2 minutes, because I'm thinking about, hey, I need to be somewhere else. And I'll tell you this too. I used to tell at my seminars all the time. It makes good sense because I've kept a lot of records back when I was doing a lot of filming. It was easy to keep records because it was all on videotape. And so one of the statistics that really stood out to me was like 85% of the coyotes we killed came in the first 3 or 4 minutes.
Mm.
So after that, your odds go down. I mean, I'm not saying you could sit there 30 minutes and eventually call in a coyote, but your odds go, you're in that 15% deal, 50 out of the 85%. 85% of those coyotes are going to be there in the first 3 to 4, 5 minutes at the most. And so after that, you're really kind of waning. Now you can sit there 2 days and eventually call in a coyote, but let's just say you're gambling at a table in Las Vegas. And when you sit at that blackjack table and the first 3 minutes, you got 85% odds of success. And after that 5 minutes, let's just stretch it out to 5 minutes, your success rate goes to 15%. You're going to get up from that table and go
Right.
find you another table.
Yeah.
And so that's how these guys win these tournaments and stuff. What they'll do is they'll, Google Earth, the Weather Channel, all those are great tools. And so, like when I would hunt a tournament, what I would do, okay, the day before the tournament, pull the weather up and I'd figure out what's the predominant wind going to be. And then I'd get all my spots lined up that were my number one spots that I felt like we would kill coyotes. And I'd line them up to where I could go from one to the next without backtracking or going way up here, a time thing. And we would set a limit 10 minutes. 10 minutes. If nothing's coming and if nothing's dead in 10 minutes, we're moving.
Interesting.
And so
Well,
because your odds go way down. So that's how you go get numbers. Now that's contest hunting or recreational hunting. The type business I'm in now is ADC type work, where it's animal damage control, where I have to kill that particular animal that's causing that rancher problems. And matter of fact, I've got a deal up now on a safari park, a drive-through safari park, that I've got to kill some coyotes on.
Wow.
And they're costing this guy a ton of money. And so I've got to kill that specific animal that's causing problems. So all that stuff, you kind of go in there, Navy SEAL ninja kind of deal, where you've got to kill that coyote. And everybody else already tried before they call me. So I use thermal and a lot of other tricks and stuff to get him to show himself. But he's going to be a tough nut to kill.
Man.
And traps as well. Good thing about traps, they work 24/7.
Yes, and we're going to get to that here in just a second. I want to touch a couple things real quick. When I learned about predator calling for black bears, one of the things was be on that call nonstop, because bears will quickly get distracted by something else, and then all of a sudden they do bear things. They just like take off.
That's right.
So you saying just be on the call, just keep it constant. It's like, that makes sense to me. That's logical. And 85% of the coyotes are going to be killed within the first 5 minutes. That also makes sense. It depends on like how many stands you can make in a day. Like if you're like, well, I only have a 40-acre spot, well, then you can give yourself more time. But if you are able to hunt a big section of land, it's like, well, let's go see what else is out there. One of the things I want to address, because you have hammered some amazing information, and I want to say thank you for that. We talked earlier in this episode about identifying locations of coyotes. Okay. We see them in pastures, but really, like, just a quick rundown. What to you is a coyote? Like, oh, that's a spot for a coyote, because it seems like it's either pasture or it's trees, or it's like creek bottoms. What are we looking for?
Yeah, anywhere that you would think a real suspicious animal would feel secure, that's away from human traffic. You just kind of, when you're driving through a place, just kind of look for crevices or stuff, or places where a coyote could hide. Because I've hunted places that, like up in Alberta, where it's just a vast nothing, grass this tall, no trees, just rolling hills. And you'll start calling and they'll just come out, it seems like nowhere. So it's really hard to pattern a coyote there, but you still can, because they're going to be, if it's sunny, a lot of times that coyote's up, where he can see. Most places in the country, Nevada, that sagebrush, they can be anywhere, really. But the coyote numbers are high there, so you've got a pretty good. I try to get a vantage point where I can see down through a big draw, and usually it holds a coyote. So, that's a good thing about coyotes is they're everywhere. So, but during the day, typically you know, they're going to be in more secluded places where they can avoid contact with people during the day. So look for those areas at night. If you're hunting at night, all bets are off. I mean, they'll be in people's backyards, all over the place. So um, the main thing you're looking for is a good area that holds a lot of coyotes, which fortunately most of the states in the United now has a pretty good population of coyotes. Another thing, if you really want to kill a lot of coyotes, is try to get away from people, because there's a lot of guys that are, weekend warriors. A lot of people call them, and which is nothing wrong with that, because we all have to work, but they're not going to drive, 100 miles out of town. They're going to drive 5 miles out of town. Well, that's where most everybody's going to go. And so you're calling about coyotes that are, and I hate to use the term educated, but they've seen this game before. Chances are by a novice or somebody that's educated them, and so they're a little difficult to call. So if you can get in some places, just get a little further away from town, and especially out west, guys used to rib me all the time. Well, you live in Texas, and there's a coyote behind every gate, and it's all private property, and they're easy to call in Texas. And I used to envy those guys, think, oh man, you've got millions of acres of national forest you can hunt, and you don't even have to ask permission.
Yeah.
So I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side, and I still love to go out. Nevada's one of my favorite places to hunt, and there's a lot of coyote hunters out there. But one thing I'll do is I'll do what most guys won't do, is get off the roads and stuff, or get for places where they don't want to go, because then I have fresh ears and usually kill a lot of coyotes that way.
Nice.
So
do you treat everything
and try not to use the same. Go ahead.
No, sorry about that. Please try not to use the same. What was that?
No, I was going to try not to use the same sounds. Everybody, you do something a little different, a little wild. Don't be scared to use. I called jackals in Africa using a jackrabbit I recorded in the Panhandle of Texas. We've called coyotes in Arizona using blackback jackal sounds. I mean, don't think, oh, there's no jackrabbits here, there's no cottontails here. Use something off the wall, and I'm not afraid to. I think it has something to do with cadence. Like my presets on my call, I start out with just a rabbit, just a regular old rabbit, just screaming his head off. But then I'll go my next sound. If that doesn't, tickle his fancy, then I'll throw a different rabbit, a young rabbit with a higher pitch, faster cadence, a different tone to it. And I one of the analogies I use is like bass fishing. When a bass fisherman goes fishing, if he's throwing a spinnerbait, he don't just leave with a spinnerbait. He's got a tackle box full of stuff. So if these bass are not hitting spinnerbait, he's going to put a plug on there or a soft plastic. It may be a different color soft plastic with an orange tail, chartreuse tail. But he's going to keep pitching stuff to them and a bass is a predator. It's just like a coyote. So you got to find something that's going to flip his switch. So like when I start out with that one rabbit, after 2 or 3 minutes, I ain't seen anything. I'm going to go to a different sound. It's probably going to be a rabbit, but it'll be a higher pitch, a different cadence, maybe a different tone. And then I'll go to another one with a different tone. Sometimes it's the third or fourth sound I get to before I get that coyote to respond. And I think sometimes maybe it's like, what in the world is going on there? That curiosity factor, finally gets them to unlock and come in. But don't be afraid to do that. Some guys are say, well, I don't want to show him all my cards. Well, he's already figured your card.
Right.
You're not going to hurt anything.
Right.
But so if 0 from 0 is 0, if he ain't coming to that one sound, try something else.
Are you specifically hunting coyotes, or do you do the same thing for whether it's bobcat, fox, or coyotes? Or is it just like I'm predator hunting and then we're going predator hunting and whatever shows up?
Well, fortunately, we have all three where I'm at, and a lot of places nowadays have all three. And so, yeah, I cast the widest net possible so I can have a cat or a fox respond. And so, but I do things differently with cats. A lot of times cats, they're more visual than they are with their nose. And I'll get in some tighter cover for calling cats. And I've heard this all my life. People say, well, it takes 30 minutes. If you're going to do a cat stand, it takes 30 minutes sometimes for a cat to get there. Now, I don't believe that at all. I think it probably takes you 30 minutes to see him, But a cat usually will respond to that call pretty fast, and then he approaches that call a lot different once he gets close. He's going to get down and start stalking that sound. Where a coyote, he's just going to run in and try to get it, blitzkrieg type deal, just run in there and get it and leave. A cat's going to get to a spot. He's going to slow down to where he thinks he can be detected because he's got to stalk up. He's a sprinter. He's going to get real close and then he's going to spring and get that animal that he thinks is dying or whatever. So with cats, I will get in tighter cover, and you really cannot move with a cat. You can get by with more if you've got an electronic call setting off because he's going to be focused and stalking that call off to the side. So if you've got off access to you, his focus once he gets close is on that call and not you. And a lot of times he's hiding, he'll have a tree or something between him, and he'll be peeking around at that call. And you can see him do it. Now if you're going to call, he's going to peek one eyeball around a tree and look at you, and you may not see him. So again, constant calling, and a lot of guys. I was giving a seminar one up north, and the guy was just really heckling me. And I don't use electronic calls. That's cheating. I'm a hand call guy, and I make my own hand calls, and that's cheating. I said, well, that's great. If you like doing that, that's fine. But if I'm here trying to tell you how to kill the most coyotes or most bobcats, I'm going to tell you electronic call every day. And it's not a crutch, and it's not cheating. I really didn't know there was any rules, so I just want to be successful and kill a bunch of stuff. So I was thinking about when I was talking to the guy, and he was adamant about, he's old school and he wants to be fair. I said, well, really? I said, we kind of changed the subject and go back to the guy, ask him what kind of gun he's shooting. Oh, it was a triple decker, notch this, that, and other, and he can shoot the gnat's butt with what kind of scope he had and a 4-ounce trigger on it and all that. And I said, well, I thought you wanted to be fair. Why don't you turn that scope around or get you a loincloth and a stick and kill him there? So, there's different, where you stop being fair at. And so, I'm here to try to kill as many and be as successful as I can. And guy, works 80 hours a week, 40 hours a week or whatever, and tired and wants to go out and relax and kill a bunch of coyotes. Get you an electronic call, set it out there. Now, what you get you some skills and learn how the coyotes are responding, kind of read your body language, go to a hand call. And I'm not saying you don't go buy a $300, $400, $500, $600 call. A $15 hand call, and you can kill a lot of coyotes with that. And no batteries required. And you can really hone your skills that way. But you're going to have to realize when you do that, that focus is on you, and you're not going to get by with as much movement as if you have that electronic call away from you a little bit.
Okay, I love that. I love that.
I'm off my soapbox now.
No, you're killing it. This is seriously. We've been on a predator spree here on the Soul Seekers podcast. So we 2 weeks ago. I guess technically it was last week. Last week we released Decoy Dogging with Levi Johnson out of the state of Montana. Just recorded and released today. Jeff Thomason, Predator Pursuit, good buddy of yours. And then we're going to follow it up with your episode. And I got to tell you, you're just slaying it right now, Byron. You are fire, brother. I can't wait. I hope you and I get an opportunity.
I get excited talking about it.
To go out together at some point because, it's like, well, take education. How many students get to, and this is why the mentorship thing is so huge, right? How many students can listen to a teacher tell them information and then like retain it and apply it and be like, I'm a master of it versus, modeling it and doing it with them and journeying with them. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now I remember this. Now I understand the nuances to it. And it becomes a lot more real and tangible. So you're hitting a home run, and I'm absolutely just eating it up. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, doggone it, I still want to get to trapping because this is so fire. Let's shift gears here for a second. I have never successfully trapped an animal, and I just got my trapper's license. Well, this back when I lived in the state of Washington, we had to live trap all animals. So I have a bobcat live trap, and that's a tough game.
Right.
Let's just go over the basics of trapping, whether it's cats or coyotes or whatever. Like, what are you doing? You could set a trap anywhere. So how are you identifying a specific location and going about it?
Well, there's an old axiom in trapping is you have to set on sign, you know, and I'm amazed a lot of times when people go with me, man, I want to go with you. And they think you're just kind of randomly putting traps, just anywhere and baiting it. And that lure is going to call a coyote 300 yards over there for him to step in your trap. And that's generally not the case. And I have a rule. I call it the 1, 2, 3 rule. So like you kind of have to figure out where that coyote's traveling. And a lot of the ranches I hunt, they're traveling the roads or little trails and stuff. And luckily for me, most of them are roads, dirt roads, 2 tracks on a ranch, and they're traveling in them roads. And a lot of guys will try to put their traps way off the road, and you're a lot of times not going to get that coyote to that trap. And so first thing I do, most of my ranches I trap, I do 10 days at a time. And so I look at the weather and I determine what's the predominant wind going to be over those 10 days. This time of year, it's north wind one day, it's south wind the next, east wind. I mean, so you've got to set a lot more traps because when that coyote's going down that road, if it's say the north wind is blowing this way, you've got to put your trap on this side of the road. So when he goes down that road, he will actually smell it. Now
So
that 1, 2, 3 rule I've got, you're right. He's going to stop and then he's going to cone into that smell. And so, but again, you don't want his wheels turning. And I've got what I call a 1, 2, 3 rule. If I know where that coyote's going, his path, I want him to step 1, 2, and that third time he needs to be in my trap. And a lot of guys, I measure like this, and I can show you. I take lots of pictures of stuff, but I put my lure right here, whether it's in a hole or a flat set or something, and I put my pan right here, 9 inches and 3 inches over. Most of the coyotes I catch are by their front right foot. And so if his nose is here smelling of my lure, that means his foot is right here.
So by the way,
so
listeners,
that's where I want
for those of you who are listening to this episode, he is talking about spreading his pinky and his thumb. And so the tip of his pinky to his thumb is where the nose to that front paw is going to be. And that's how far away he's setting that trap off the scent. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And just kind of the guys that can't see, think about that coyote's nose come back 9 inches and over 3 to the right or the left. Most predators, believe it or not, are right-footed or right-handed, just like most people. So I usually go 9 inches back and 3 to the right. And if you'll see any of my trapping pictures, it's a big thing to me. I want that front right foot. And so I usually have that front right foot, unless it's a pea post or something like that. And I'll usually have them sometimes by the hind leg, where they peed. And so I know when he pees, I know where the other foot's going to be.
Right.
That's where I put my pan. But so, I mean, there's a huge amount of skill set to it, just learning trial and error and developing those skills. But then there's a lot of stuff, just like that little deal I just told you, 9 and 3. If you'll do that, that'll get you through the curve real quick. The next thing is lure. I mean, like I say, when I trap for 10 days on a place, it may rain like this past 10 days. I pulled traps yesterday from 3 different properties, and I trapped 10 days on 3 different properties. And but we had 5 inches of rain on those places, 3 to 5 inches. And so my lure's got to last through all that. So get you a good reputable lure maker. Fortunately, there's a lot of stuff you can order.
What do you recommend?
Will last through snow and ice and rain.
What do you recommend for cats and dogs, or cats and or dogs? Like if you're targeting what you're going after.
Targeting either or both.
Yeah.
I like a good what they call a dirt hole set, and there's tons of videos on YouTube to show you how to make a dirt hole set. This time of year, right now, the coyotes are mating, and also the bobcats are really starting to travel. The toms are really starting to roam. And the coyotes they mate for life, so they'll be together. So I'll use a good gland lure that represents, it's just glands that are off of a coyote, and they're ground up and preserved. And so I'll use a gland lure, but I'll also use a bait down in a hole, or food or curiosity type lure down in a hole. And then I'll usually use urine this time of year on the backing behind, because you really want the animal in front of the backing. And a backing could be like a cow chip or a rock or a tuft of grass or something like that. So you want him on the front of it. So you always put your lure on that backing, but on the front side facing the trap. And urine is really good. Gland lures, any kind of curiosity deal with cats. And honestly, you can catch coyotes and cats on either bobcat or fox or coyote urine because that's I mean they're all interested in it. A lot of people will tell you if you want to catch a cat, use cat urine, and if you want to catch a coyote, use coyote urine, but you're not going to catch as many cats because the cats are scared of the coyote urine. That's to me is not true. Um, I've tried it every different way, and I'll put cat urine on one and coyote on the next, and I might have the opposite in each trap. But earlier in the year, in the fall, I don't use much urine. I don't use much bait because we've got ants and stuff will kind of get in that bait and carry it out of the hole. I don't use urine because every little young buck thinks it's a scrape, and he's going to make a scrape right on top of your trap, and it springs your trap. So there's a lot there's more to trapping than there is the calling is I mean I would say it's if trapping was if calling is a 3, trapping would be a 10 on skill level.
Wow.
So
okay.
The good thing about traps to be successful and get the numbers, there's huge commitment to it. You can't just go trap one night. I'll set traps that sometimes won't catch anything for 8 or 10 days. And I trap some places that I leave the traps and the landowner or a ranch hand runs them when I'm gone. And I've caught coyotes as much as 3 weeks later, even after a snow and ice storm, and so one of the biggest things the guy does is, oh, well, I didn't catch anything last night. I got to put some more on it. I got to put some more, I got to freshen it up every 3 or 4 days. To me, you just reset the time it takes for your scent to go away. I'll set a set, and I make sure that thing, my thing is I want to catch something the first night, but when I set that trap, I want to make sure it's going to last through snow and ice and all that for 10 or 12 days because I'm not going to ever touch that again. If it comes a big hard rain, I might come back and squirt a little urine on it. But the lure and stuff I use, I have so much confidence in it being able to last through all that. And most people cannot get their mind wrapped around how well a coyote can smell. It's like 1 part per billion. And just an example, guys would tell you all the time to put fox urine on your feet when you walk in. That way, that it's a cover scent. Well, there's no such thing as a cover scent. And a great analogy is like when we walk into a McDonald's, we smell a Big Mac. When a coyote walks into a McDonald's, he smells 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, pickles, tomatoes on a sesame seed bun. He smells what they clean the floor with. He smells the money in the drawer, all separately, all at the same time, and he can dissect that stuff. I mean, so when you fox pee on your foot and walk in there, you're not covering anything. You smell like a human with fox pee on your foot to a coyote. So, I mean, people used to always ask me, what do you use for cover scent? I'd tell them Break Free and Copenhagen. You don't use cover scent. No, I mean, if he's downwind of you, he's going to smell you. You're shedding cells. There's nothing you can do that he's not going to smell you. Now,
are you concerned
if the wind
about
is in your face, he cannot smell you.
Are you concerned about spitting or even if you just take a leak in the general area, or is that like I better not do that?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. As long as it's behind me, I and my wife, she'd tell you back when we first started dating, I was sold, hook, line, and sinker on the scent and lure. I would have drank that stuff if I thought it'd help me kill more coyotes. But if you'll get the wind in your face, don't worry about any of that. Don't overthink this. He cannot smell you if you've got the wind right, period. If you've got the wind wrong, you're just blowing a party favor. You're not blowing a call.
Yeah.
He's going to smell you. You're not going to see him. Gigs up, all this thing. This call don't work. I need another one. I need a $300 one. I need a $600 one. A lot of people use that as a crutch. And I'll give you a good example. We was talking about blowing a call earlier. If you're in the right spot and you've got coyotes, the just sound awful on a call. Me and a good friend of mine from Henderson, edge of Las Vegas, called him Crapshoot, Lance Adams, super guy. He and I were up in Canton, Alberta, calling coyotes one time, and these coyotes were coming so good. I said, I bet we could call these coyotes playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. He goes, what? I said, yeah. So I started going, din, 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 but I was putting a little emotion to it. And so we started calling coyotes. And me and Lance, for like next 2 or 3 stands, we'd take turns. He'd play a course and I'd play a course. So Mary Had a Little Lamb on a call and killed coyotes.
See, but
So
that's like
it's actually on one of my videos.
it's a double whammy though, because you're Mary called a little lamb. You got a lamb decoy. You're just making it happen. Or Mary Had a Little Lamb. Oh man, Byron, this
But keep it
podcast
simple.
I want to go forever. I don't have my hunger and knowledge for what you are giving is not satiated. However, for the sake of time and for the sake of everything involved, I want to cut this shorter. We're already at the 58-minute mark, and I like to keep the podcast about an hour. And
Really?
The reason why I want to cut this a little short right now is because I want people to be able to chew on it. Not too much information. So if you would do me the honor, I would really love to get you on for a second episode, a follow-up, and we can continue on with a lot of this information. Would you be up for that?
Sure.
Awesome.
Be glad to.
Is there anything that you feel like you didn't hit that our listeners might want to take away right now before we get into that next episode at some point?
The biggest thing is confidence. I mean, for new guys are getting started. You watch a lot of videos and you think guys are killing coyotes on every stand. And I can tell you this, I've been doing this a long time, and I do not kill coyotes on every stand. I was standing by a guy one time, just to make it short. He comes up, he has one of my videos, and he's wanting me to sign an autograph. And he goes, "Oh, Mr. South," he says, "I watched all your videos." He said, "You kill a coyote on every stand." And I thought, oh, son, you don't quite understand. We didn't put the stands on video where we were unsuccessful. Nobody would buy it. So people get a false sense of you got to have realistic expectations. You're not going to call a coyote on every stand. Back when we had to call company, guys would call, "Man, this thing don't work. I'm doing, something's not right, and I'll start talking to them, and they'll say, well, I'll come find out they made 5 stands. And I think, guys, you're not going to call a coyote on every stand. And so try to learn, just have realistic expectations, and you just stay with it. Once you I see this all the time, guys will go 10 or 15 stands and not kill a coyote, 20 stands. And all of a sudden they'll kill that first coyote. And after that, they become killing machines. They've got that confidence. So I think confidence has a lot to do with it.
Mm.
Keep it simple. Don't overthink it, and have realistic expectations. And that's probably the biggest advice. And don't break any of the rules. Keep it simple. Keep that wind right. Slip in there like he going to shoot you if he detects you. Slip in there and then call coyotes and have fun.
Man, I love it.
And next time it's frustrating when a coyote comes in, you better be able to shoot because he's not going to be there long.
Oh, good to know.
That's the most frustrating deal.
Yeah, one of the things, I come from a sports background, and I always, especially when I was coaching basketball, I was like, guys, if you already think you're going to miss your shot, you're going to be missing your shot, right? Like, you got to go into it with confidence. I'm hitting every single one of these. Give me the ball. I want it. I want to take the shot. Yes. Don't doubt yourself. Like, I don't know if it's like an energy thing or the universe or whatever. It's like, you always got to pretend to know what you're doing, even if you don't, because that confidence means something in this world, and things will start falling into place when you start acting and showing up.
Fake it till you make it.
That's right. My term for this year, we did a goals episode to start the new year, and it was play bigger. Play bigger. Just go out there. Don't be the David versus the Goliath. You go be the Goliath. You play big and go knock
That's
it
right.
out of the park.
I rode bulls for a lot of years, and one of the big sayings in rodeo is, especially in the rough stock events, long thought's a wrong thought. You can't think. You have to react and know it's right. So like when that coyote comes in, I see people all the time kind of trying to figure out, and they don't take the shot. And some of that's from lack of familiarity with their firearm. But you can't think it out, because he's not going to stand there and just like a deer at a feeder. He's going to come check it out and he's going to leave. So long thought's a wrong thought. Get on him and shoot him. Put them crosshairs on it and shoot him as quick as you can. But again, that comes from confidence, and how you build confidence with your firearm is familiarity. Excuse me. Make sure it's unloaded, but you need to feel what that gun feels like. It needs to be second nature for you to pick it up. Muscle memory, great in sports. It's taught in every sport. Muscle memory. Once you develop that muscle memory, it takes all that thought process out of it, and you just react. Long thought's a wrong thought. When that coyote comes running in there, you need to be on automatic, pick it up. When you pick it up, those crosshairs are where you're looking, and you can shoot him. And that comes from muscle memory, and you got to develop all that, because it's very frustrating to learn to call coyotes and finally call one in, and you don't capitalize on that opportunity. So
it's happened multiple times to me already.
With that firearm.
Yep. Oh, man, I love it. Mr. South, you are a gentleman. You are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your efforts of what you've been doing for not only this episode, but also the hunting world and everyone who is going to be impacted, not just from this right here, but everything that you've done. And I want to say thank you because it means a lot. And if you haven't
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, because that's... In what was it? Coaching and teaching. They were always said you won't get your gratitude of like, oh, thank you, Mr. Mack, thanks, Coach Mack, right away. You'll know how good of a job you did 10 years later, and when wedding invites are showing up. Like, oh, okay, I made an impact. You are making an impact from everything that you do, and I wanted to say thank you and keep doing it, because it's big time.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I'm sorry I cut it short. However, we are going to have to do version 2, episode 2 of this coming out shortly. I'll schedule this as soon as possible, and rock and roll. I hope that you take this knowledge that Byron, Mr. South, shared on this episode and apply it to your hunt right away. Get after it. They say practice makes perfect. Well, you're only going to be a better hunter the more you get a field. You're not going to get better hunter from staring at a screen. Remember that mentorship is conservation, and you can never outgive good, as hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure. I'm Johnny Mack, everybody. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating, as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group, as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.